Today we have a few folks to discuss and maybe give us not only a bit of the history and context of these patron saints and festivals, but an opportunity for us to talk about our own experiences of those, what they continue to carry, how they continue to carry on, not only Italian culture, but the Catholic faith. Before we do that, I want to make a couple plugs. You want to do this plug now, or you want to do this later?
Now it's fine.
Okay, we're going to do this plug now. Go ahead, real quick.
Okay, some of you, maybe all of you, might know that I am part of a committee, there's a couple other committee members here, who are doing a fundraising campaign to raise $500,000 here at Loyola that the President Garanzini has promised to match in order to create an endowed professorship of Italian-American studies. The basic idea is that as time goes on, the history and culture of Italian-Americans is in danger of being lost. And the only way, or the best way to preserve culture is through the university. And an endowed professorship would create an endowment that would never be spent, and the income from the endowment would be used to support a faculty member whose only, I hope only job would be to study, write, teach, and promote the history and culture of Italian Americans. So I'd like you to take a copy of the little flyer. If you've got passion, why you're a candidate for helping us. If you don't got passion, you can help us anyway. Thanks. Just get in touch with me. Do you have another plug?
No, I'll do the next one later.
Okay. So we'll go now to something. The parishes were obviously one thing. There were up to 15 different parishes that were identified as Italian Catholic in the Chicago area. They were part of formal organizations and went according to archdiocese rules and all sorts of other rules. But we had folk religion, and we talked a lot yesterday about how important folk religion was to Italian immigrants. And out of that folk religion and out of the Italian culture was a patron saint, and every town had one. And when the Italians came to America, they brought the Feste with them. Now, when I first started studying this, I guess I was naive. I thought, you know, that would be the first thing you'd want to get rid of if you're changing from one culture to another. You know, parading statues through the streets and pinning money on it. The Protestants would call this worship graven images and pinning the money. And you think that, well, that can't last. And there were a lot of Italian observers, writers, intellectuals who said, we really got to get rid of this, and it's shameful that our people are doing this, etc., etc. Well, they did not prevail, let me tell you. The festivals became a vital part of the Italian community. Maybe it was the happiest day of the year for the community to celebrate the festival. And the festival didn't have the kind of rules that the church did, and sometimes there were conflicts between the people who were organizing the patron saint festival and the priests. Certainly the archdiocese, the Irish archdiocese leaders did not like it. A lot of the non-Catholic clergy didn't like it. A lot of the Catholic clergy didn't like it. But it persisted. and we still have it today. And in fact, the existence of Casa Italia has made it possible and even easy to have a patron saint festival on our grounds. And to my mind, I think the thing is getting a rebirth. So let's hear from the personal experiences from, we have a panel of three here. More were invited, but these, and they're very busy people, and they're unaccustomed to public speaking, so we do have three stalwarts here, and we're happy to have them. I'm going to continue from the last one. I want to ask Chris Caliendo to talk to us about the Our Lady of Mount Carmel feast. The last presentation by Joe Rosa was about the church. Now we have the feast.
I'm going to have to really be speaking a little ad lib, as we were supposed to divide the parish and the feast, and that becomes very, very difficult because they are so entwined. For those of you who weren't here when Joe did the presentation on the parish of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, I'll give you a brief, very brief history. In the late 1800s, a lady named Emanuela Di Stefano, who was from Lorenzana, which is Provincia di Potenza, made a promise to the Blessed Mother that if her husband were to be healed, she would institute a festa in her honor here in this country. That started in the late 1800s, 1894, and this year we celebrated the 120th anniversary of the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And I think we are the epitome of what Dominic was speaking of. Our feast is approximately 8 blocks long. There are over 40 participants, 2 Italian bands, 1 Neapolitan and 1 Sicilian. There are 12 accenta, or candle houses, and I don't know if you all know what those are, but they are a structure of 100 candles, each dedicated to a different patron saint, that is carried in the procession through the streets, and it's carried by women mostly, although men are in there. There are different societies, the St. Anthony Society, the Padre Pio Society, the St. Michael Society, San Biagio di Platini, and this procession starts at 10:30 in the morning when the Madonna comes out of church. She comes out of church on a baldacchino, which was fashioned in the 1930s. That was made by Father Frank. He ordered it to be made because the statue used to be carried just on a platform. But where he came from, Plots, they used to carry the statues on a baldacchino. And this one is, without a doubt, one of the nicest you will ever see. When she comes out of church, I should back up a little bit. The Mass at 9 o'clock is in Italian. The church is packed. There's standing room only, and you're lucky if you can find standing room. At 10 o'clock, the bells start ringing, and she comes out of church. There are probably 8,000 people when she comes out of church, standing in the streets. There are babies that are presented up to her. There are, are we getting films again?
Yeah.
Okay. There are babies that are presented up to her while the crown is being put on the top of the baldacchino. And I get choked up just thinking about her coming out of church because you can't stand there with your eyes dry. Anyway, this is the beginning of the procession. She goes for probably 1.5 miles north of the church. That takes until noon. At noon, there is an outdoor mass, which by the time she gets back to the church, there's at least another 20,000 people there. And the mass is set outside, the fireworks go off. As I say, we are the epitome of an Italian feast. There's money pinned on her, there are people carrying her, and this tradition, as I said, has gone on for 120 years and is not weakening. In 2006, through the efforts of Father Claudio Holzer and Bishop Paprocki, we were declared a shrine. We are now an official archdiocesan shrine, and in another, I believe, 6 or 7 years, we can apply to become a national shrine. In 2009, well, actually it was like 2007, right after we became a shrine, Joe Rosa got the bright idea that he thought we should have the statue coronated. And at that time, everybody said, huh? Yeah, we're going to have the Pope coronate the statue. Well, we had a little teaser. As he said, prior to the day of the feast, there is a 9-night novena. And it starts out with probably 200 or 300 people on the first night. And this usually falls over the 4th of July weekend. So you can imagine 200 or 300 people coming to a novena. By the 9th night, there's 1,000 people in church. So we decided, okay, if we're going to have a table in coronation, she needs to have new crowns. Well, where are we going to get the money for the crowns? Well, let's see if anybody will donate their gold. We collected 15 pounds of gold in 9 nights. And when I tell you that's unheard of, it is unheard of. Okay, who's going to make the crowns? Well, we had this jeweler who used to be from Melrose Park. His name was Gino Blanco, and we approached him, and I said, you know, would you? He was honored. Honored. That's Gino, those are the crowns. Then the next step was, okay, we're going to go to Rome and have the Pope bless them. Now, Father Claudio looked at us like, what, are you crazy? Well, guess what? We got to go to Rome and the Pope blessed them. And the best part of it was there were about 28 of us who went, and the whole trip to Rome, including the airfare, for 6 nights, airfare, meals, lodging, $1,200 per person. So I have to say the Blessed Mother wanted us to go. When we came back, okay, we're going to have, and she is papally coronated. Bishop Paprocki celebrated the Mass, and okay, we're going to have this papal incoronation. But we'd like to put it on EWTN. I don't know if you know what EWTN is, the Catholic television station. Again, a little research, and oh, it's probably going to cost about $60,000 because you have to have the television camera, you have to have the hookup, you have to have. Cost us $5,000. We were live worldwide. We didn't have one bishop, we had 2. And if you don't think that's a juggling act as to which bishop is going to say the Mass and which bishop is going to do the homily. And we had 2 bishops. We were world televised, live, worldwide. And to this day, all I can say is what she wants, she gets. Our next project is to build her a new shrine. Our church was a pretty little Italian church that after Vatican II, we have this monstrosity. Sorry, but it's a monstrosity. It's one of the nicer of the newer churches, but it's not what we want. So our next project is to build a shrine. And as not only Joe, but the gentleman from Pompeii, that's our old church. The gentleman from Pompeii, the gentleman from St. Anthony's, the Scalabrinis have changed their mission, and they now tend to the needs of the Hispanic population. And I'm sure my father and all of the priests that I grew up knowing are probably rolling in the grave, but that's beside the point. So we're having a little bit of a problem, but we really think she wants the shrine, and we really think that she's going to get it. As Dominic said, the traditions are dying, and we are trying very, very hard, and so far succeeding, to keep our traditions in Melrose Park strong. And as I was discussing with one of the ladies here, I think one of the reasons that the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel is so strong, besides the miracles she has performed over the years, is that as growing up, we were never Napolitan or Sicilian or Marcajan. We were Italian. Melrose Park had a good cross-population of all of the peninsula of Italy, and we were Italian. We weren't anything else. And I noticed that in the immigrants that came later, in the 60s and later, they all kept their Paides identities, their regional identity. We never had that. And I think that that is one of the reasons that Our Lady of Mount Carmel has really gone on through the years and survived through the years and became what she became.
We're on to the topic. Any quick questions that we can deal with?
Since even though I've been here 10 years and I've not been out there, which is, I know.
You have to come this year.
Shame, I know. But are there Italian Americans still living in?
Oh, yes, yes. Melrose Park is still very much Italian American. We're probably 40%. Our mayor is an Italian American. The church, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, has a great, great deal of support from the local government. He's a graduate of the school, as are 99% of the people Italian Americans who are still in Melrose Park. Father Lapata went to the school. Fred Gardafe is from Melrose Park originally. And yes, we do have a very strong, and we're fighting, and I'm a real estate broker. I'm actually seeing that there are people coming back to Melrose Park, as the gentleman was saying about Roseland. They never really left, and when we collected this gold, we have a newsletter that goes out 4 times a year from the Society of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and I was getting gold from Washington, D.C., from Arizona, from Delaware. I was getting these little boxes that were coming in the mail. It was unbelievable, the response that we had. And it's all due to her. It really is. Anytime anybody would like to come out, I mean, we have pilgrimages to the shrine. And just on one of the notes where Dominic was saying about the Protestants not understanding us, we had a pilgrimage from the St. Paul Lutheran Church that called, and they wanted to know if their senior club could come on a pilgrimage to Our Lady of Mount Carmel. So we said, sure. I mean, we didn't know what to expect, so we went through our whole spiel with the dresses and the baldacchino and the crowns. And Joe was up there, and he said to them, his opening remarks were, well, if this were Martin Luther's time, we'd probably lock the doors and burn you all, but now you're here. But they were very nice. They said, we just want to know what goes on here. And what is all of this? And when they left, they asked questions for about 45 minutes. And it was really, really nice that they came, and I think they really enjoyed themselves. And
Why don't you describe the Rose presentation?
We just passed it. On the Wednesday evening of the novena, we have a rose presentation. And each one of those bunches of roses is a bucket. By the time we're done with the presentation, there's over 10,000 roses in front of her. This year, I think we had 125 or 130 buckets, plus the single roses that people bring up. And what they do is they buy a bucket of roses, and their intention is read as the roses are brought up and placed in front of her. So it is something to see. If you have never been there, please come visit us. If you have any questions, give us a call. And pray for us, because we are fighting for our lives. Thank you.